Hello, and thank you for joining us on Hello Mayor. I'm City of Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman. Michelle Romero was elected mayor of Henderson in June 2022 and took the oath of office in January 2023. She served previously in Henderson on the City Council representing Ward 1 and has been involved in local government for over 25 years. We're delighted to have her with us today. Wow, are you fabulous. I can't believe
Thank you.
this 25 years.
Thank you.
So here we are. This is so exciting, and to have been here all these years myself watching Henderson grow. The first thing is, and I have just learned, she is the mother of 4 sons, but most importantly, born and raised here. So
That's right.
if you would tell our audience who you are and where you were educated, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a native of Henderson, lived here my whole life in the same neighborhood, in fact, for my whole life. And I raised my children here, met my husband in high school. We've been together since then, so for 36 years we've been married. And raised our 4 kids here, and we now have 9 grandchildren, and 6 of them live here as well. So Henderson plays a very big role in my life, and making sure that my grandkids have the opportunities that I had when I was young is important to me. I was a 25-year employee of the City of Henderson in many roles, but the last 16 of those years I was in redevelopment, and the last 9 of those as a redevelopment manager.
So isn't this exciting? Can you imagine all these sports, everything? But first of all, were you in public education all the way through?
Yes, I was. I was in the Clark County School District.
And graduated from high school in Henderson?
I did, at Basic High School. In fact, this morning I went back to my elementary school alma mater to speak to the 5th grade class there, in my 5th grade classroom.
And hopefully not the same teacher.
No, it was not the same teacher.
But how exciting. Are you involved then with education in Henderson?
Yes, yes. Henderson is really, really big on education. We have a Henderson Education Advisory Commission that monitors what's happening in Henderson schools, keeps in touch with the schools, and we take 30% of our marijuana funds and 18% of our redevelopment funds, and we invest those directly back into Henderson schools for programs and things that are needed there.
So the mayor and council have control over your marijuana funding. It does not go to the state?
What we get back comes, the percentage that we get back, 30% of that is what goes to schools.
And you have the license to go ahead and direct it where you wish.
That's correct.
What are the things that you are feeling is happening with education there, based on the fact that you've been so successful and so involved in so many aspects of what's going on in Henderson? What do you feel the appetite of the public is there, and what can you do about it, if anything?
Henderson residents really want change in our school district. It's something that I hear every place that I go. They feel like the school district is too large to meet the needs of individual students. They feel like everybody at the school district really wants children to succeed. Obviously, they wouldn't be in the career they're in if that wasn't the case. But that the school district is so large that it can't maneuver the way it needs to meet the individual needs of the kids. And so very, very strong support for having smaller school districts in Henderson. But barring that, our schools in Henderson are performing pretty well compared to the national average, and we have very, very good results for our specific schools in Henderson.
Well, I've seen your population grow inordinately large. Yes. For a small town that was minuscule in the 60s and 70s. So as you look at education, I know you have your own police force as well.
We do.
What other parts of public service does the city council and mayor control? Are there other?
We have a full service city, so we have our own water and sewer, we have our own police and fire, we have everything within the city, our own park system, everything from water to parks to public safety.
And your taxes, you service off the same taxes, whether
yes,
sales, property?
Exactly, the same ones. We actually have a lower tax rate than any other large state in the city, at 77 cents per $100 of assessed value.
So how do you manage control over your population growth, or is that not part of the appetite of the population? Are they happy with the growth because you've had all the major league sports come in there now with their practice facilities, their offices are there? Plus, I believe you have a lot of new apartments too.
We do, and one of the things that I asked for staff to look at when I was elected was to look at the map of where apartments are located, because obviously there's a housing shortage throughout the valley.
Right.
And so we need various types of housing, but we don't want them all clumped in one neighborhood. And so our staff has created a map that shows where the largest populations of multifamily housing are, so that's a criteria that we look at moving forward to decide, well, that area is oversaturated, maybe we need to look at another area for this type of housing.
So where do you see future growth? I mean, is Lake Las Vegas in the confines of Henderson?
It is. Lake Las Vegas is growing very rapidly. We have a lot of construction happening out there. There's a lot of construction happening in the Cadence subdivision. Eventually that will have 11,000 homes there. And then in West Henderson we have a lot of a multitude of different types of development happening there.
So are schools planned now based on that population growth, since it comes, even though it comes from the Clark County School District? Is that something that you're looking at as well?
We always do. Whenever we have a large development, we require the developer to set aside property for the school district so that it's available to them whenever they find that it's needed.
And so by the lakes, are there schools out there? You usually have fewer high schools, more elementary,
Right.
but what do you have
We've
there?
just built, so the Cadence subdivision is very near Lake Las Vegas, and Lake Las Vegas does not have a large children population.
Right.
And so Cadence is a higher trigger for those school-age kids, and there are multiple schools in and around Cadence, including public schools and public charter schools.
Well, now as you look to the future too and the growth, your senior population.
Yes.
I know you have quite a
We
large.
do.
Yes.
We do.
So are they clustered in an area? Is that a Sun City-like development? What are you doing with the seniors?
We do have a Sun City development for seniors, but we also have various other age-restricted communities throughout the city limits, and we monitor those to make sure that those are also appropriately spread out to meet the needs of our residents. We also monitor how having an age-restricted facility or housing development triggers more calls for public service, like fire department or medical calls and things like that.
And you also have your own fire and rescue.
We do. We do. So we make sure that we don't have too many congregated in one area so that it doesn't overburden our emergency services.
What about in Henderson, hotel casinos?
We have the M in
Yes.
Henderson. We have Green Valley Ranch. We have Sunset Station, and we have a new Inspirata station coming very soon.
I know there's a lot of growth going on and interest going south. And since you are an economic development lady, tell us a little bit about the future, what you see happening there with investment. That it's all supposition, I know at this point you can't say certain things. But what can you tell us about someone who's looking to move or go to work in Henderson?
So we do have Haas Automation that is under construction now. That's a 2 million square foot facility for advanced manufacturing that will house 2,000 jobs, and it also they have property to expand for their supply chain. So we are constantly looking for those opportunities for advanced manufacturing and their suppliers to come in.
Is that warehousing mostly, or is it really?
It's actually automation. They are the machine. They build the machines that build the machines, and they export worldwide. They're a well-known company throughout the world, and they are one of the biggest in the world at what they do. And so the need for their supply chain is significant. And so they have property there for that supply chain, and that has spurred additional interest in that area. we're just running out of space to put them. And so we do have some land that has been nominated to be released by the BLM, and we're expecting that to come in the very near future, and that will open up some more opportunities in that area.
Now, for those who are looking maybe to invest or come here that may end up seeing this for some reason, how did the process of that incorporation come? Did it come directly to Henderson? Had they inquired from abroad? Where did you hear from them?
They started actually before I was elected
Okay.
for city council, but it was through an RFP process. We had the land, we knew what we were looking for, and they put an RFP out, and Haas Automation was the one who fit all the criteria, and they were the one that was
Is that
ultimately
a
selected.
Japanese company?
No, it's an American
It's
company.
an
Their
American
current headquarters are in California, and they're going to be moving the headquarters here.
And how many do you expect to move in if you're having that number of employees? That's a family coming. So what do you project? Is that a 2-year out process for completion?
It will be at least 2 years, maybe 3.
Okay.
It depends on the supply chain, because they've experienced supply chain issues for some of the equipment they're
course.
waiting for as well. So their timeline has been altered just a little bit. They have all of their infrastructure in. They've done about $50 million worth of infrastructure already. They have started ordering their equipment, and it's starting to stockpile while they're waiting for other equipment to get here. So it depends on how that supply chain issue fixes itself, and soon we should see it going vertical very soon.
And other areas out there, did you get any more BLM land, or was that
We
pretty
have
much using it?
approximately 800 acres more that we know is going to be available to us in the near future.
And what are you doing with sustainability, environment? Do you have solar energy out there? What are you doing in energy?
We have requirements for any developer that comes out there to make sure that they are environmentally responsible. First of all, we don't allow, just as all the other entities have agreed to do, we don't allow high water users, we don't allow those that aren't good for our natural resources. But as far as energy goes, we currently have K2 Energy, that is a battery company.
Correct.
For electric vehicles, and Department of Defense, and all kinds of things. And we have a few others that are similar to that are coming and that are looking.
And what about, as you go about building out the community, and I know you go back to your historic Water Street, which I love,
Thank
and
you.
being out there, it's just wonderful. Transportation. Now, I know I sit on with another member of City Council, the RTC, which deals with transportation. What is happening out in Henderson with transportation and getting people back and forth to the other communities, but more specifically in the heart of Henderson?
We have worked very closely with the RTC to make sure there's appropriate bus routes for people to use. We have a downtown loop that goes right through our Water Street district, and it connects up through the college, and we have a constant interaction with the RTC to make sure that we're reaching all the areas of our city that we need to. At the same time, we're working to make sure that we have funding for roads to take some of the pressure off some of our main roads and divert it off either to the 15 or to other collector streets.
And that's fuel revenue tax,
Yes.
which is so important
Yes.
for anybody as we go ahead and we get to electric vehicles that are not paying for fuel. I know we're going to have input, and we're going to be working together a lot on how do we sustain the roads, the public
right.
transportation that we need. There's so much to ask you. I know we can't get it all in one show. Hospitals, medical care in Henderson. Can you touch on that? As you seem to know it all, but of course, after all these years living there, you probably know where every blade of grass is
No.
to take out.
That's the ones that we're taking out, yes.
Yeah.
We just built Henderson Hospital. We didn't, but we partnered with United Healthcare, Valley Health Systems, to build Henderson Hospital.
Tell us a little bit about the hospital. I have
Sure.
not visited there and haven't seen it, but I'm big on medical care.
Yes, it is amazing. It is one of the few hospitals in the country to receive the Leapfrog awards, and they have been designated as the top 1% of hospitals in the nation several times now.
Wow.
And so they were so successful. They only opened about 5 or 6 years ago, and they were so successful that in year 2 they were already past their year 10 projections, and so they have already built a second tower that doubles the size of the hospital in 5 years.
Do you know what the bed holding is there? How many?
It's around
they
400. Around
and
400
how many
beds.
acres on that campus?
The campus as a whole is about 120 acres. It
So
sits
they
on
have
the
plenty
Union
of room.
Village campus, but it's a multi-use campus, and so the hospital itself is just a small portion of that.
Okay.
The larger campus is live, work, play to support the hospital.
And are you specializing in anything in particular? Is it senior care? Is it, we know that UMC just got the kidney transplant award for the country, which I thought was remarkable. I know we need residencies for our medical school. What, is there any single specific that the Henderson Hospital is trying to address?
They're mostly because right now, between them and Siena, they're the only two hospitals in Henderson, because the St. Rose campus of St. Rose Dominican campus it has reduced in size to a standalone, almost the same as a standalone ER. So those are the only two hospitals we currently have.
Wow.
Valley is in the process right now of building a second hospital in West Henderson. So that will greatly impact our bed, bed capacity. Henderson Hospital is an acute hospital. It's got some advanced pediatric care for new babies, newborn babies, NICU. They have some other surgery facilities, but I don't know that
Were
they're...
your children delivered in Henderson?
2 of them were. Yes.
And you, I'm sure?
No, my mom's doctor lived in Boulder City, worked out of Boulder City.
Okay.
So even though we lived in Henderson, her doctor was in Boulder City, so I was born at the old Boulder City Hospital.
What made you decide to run for mayor? I mean, you've had such an incredible life, and how wonderful that you have a friend for life in your high school partner, husband, and all these wonderful children. But getting into the economic development first, and then what made you decide to run for mayor?
So after 25 years with the city, I saw my share of really great leaders and ones that made decisions that I'm not sure they understood the impacts on the employees and then on the city. And over 25 years, you start to see, that was a really great idea, and maybe I wouldn't have done that. And so it gave me a really unique background and ability to say, I could fix that. I could do better than that, or I could emulate them. And we've had mayors like Mayor Gibson, Mayor March we just had, that phenomenal leaders that that just had incredible visions for the future and were able to accomplish many things. And just watching them throughout their careers and having grown up in Henderson, I had an amazing childhood. We weren't rich. We didn't have, all the things in the world, but I had an amazing family. Exactly, things don't matter. But the environment was amazing, and my career was amazing. And I wanted, my family taught me to give back and to leave a place better than I found it. And I found that this works for me very well. I really enjoy helping people, and this was the best way for me to be able to do that.
It's just, it's so rewarding. You have such knowledge, which will make things move faster if you can persuade who's ever on the other side of what's happening. What brought your parents to Henderson?
My dad was working here. They met in college at BYU, and then they moved here for work.
Wow.
And
what was your father doing?
He was working at Tymet.
Oh, you're
at the time. They were very young. He was working at Tymet.
What year did they come here?
66.
I can't believe how old I am. We came here in '64. I remember the fire in Henderson, and I do remember, but that was a tiny little town.
It was very tiny. When I was in high school, which was in the mid-'80s, we were about 40,000 people, and we are now 340,000.
Wow.
Yes.
Isn't that incredible? So how do you handle that enormous and rapid growth? What does your council counterparts, colleagues say to you, what they're feeling? You are not divided into wards as we are, with a council person per ward.
No, we are.
Oh, you are?
We are.
So as you expand and you grow, Are you growing in all wards or
We are.
only the one to the south?
No, all wards are growing. There's something happening in each of the wards, and it differs. So in West Henderson, it's more commercial. In Ward 3, it's more residential. In Ward 1, it's more a mix of. We have Nevada State College there, and
That's
that's growing.
your ward.
It was my ward, yes.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of things happening in each ward, and they're very, very different. And so
Wow.
we've had a really great council that is very cohesive and sees the bigger picture. We don't often, worry about who gets what in their area, because we look at what's best for the whole city, and we work together to try to make that happen. Regarding growth, we recognize growth is necessary, but we also want to be careful not to grow too fast. And it's kind of stable. It's stabilized now. For years back, it was just exploding, and those council people had to be really thoughtful in how they plan things out. And the beauty of Henderson is that we have a plan. We have a strategic plan. We have a comprehensive plan, and we stick to that plan. And we don't just, anybody that comes through the door, we don't just say, okay. We are very, very, very thorough in how we go through who comes to Henderson and what we require of them, and are they a good fit, and do they provide the jobs we need, or is this the right type of housing we need, or we look at all those kinds of things to make sure what we're bringing in is something that's going to complement our city and make it better.
Because we do get a lot of calls at the city, because the name Las Vegas is known worldwide.
Right.
And when they talk residential and they ask about a combined work-play area, but that has a very quiet lifestyle, because you're growing so quickly now, and hundreds of apartments are being built. Which ward on St. Rose is that has the multitude of apartments?
4, I believe.
Okay, so in your effort to make sure everything's harmonious, that is something that comes back to your full council? Would that be handled by your city manager and staff? How's that processed?
It usually comes back to the full council. So we can either condition it very heavily if we want, certain features or certain benefits to the community. We can condition it to have the amenities, or we can say no, or we can say, yes, but you have to reduce the size, or things like that, and we do that on a regular basis.
Well, I remember when John Lee, and we now have another native-born, and Mayor Pamela Goins-Brown, so 2 ladies and 2 native-born ladies as mayor. I remember when John Lee took office as mayor in North Las Vegas, he called and he said, how regularly did Oscar before you get together with all the Southern Nevada mayors? And I said, I guess happenstance, I don't know, what are you thinking? And he said, I think on a regular basis we should all get together to see what are the combined issues that are significant. Yes. And so my sense is that this, and I know you, so I know you're willing to do that, and I know Dr. Hardy and certainly Mayor Goins-Brown, that we're all, and Mesquite, Mayor Lippman, that we all want to go ahead and have this.
I agree.
Particularly right now with a new legislative session having begun this week. If you go most global and think about your sister municipalities in the county, what do you think, and your council obviously reflectively, what do you think are the major issues that we need to be together on and get up there to up to the legislature?
There's a few that come to mind. Education, obviously, is very, very top of mind because it has been such an issue for residents everywhere.
And I hate to interrupt you, but I'm known for doing that. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
How many charter schools do you have?
Ooh, I don't know that off the top of my head.
But you do have charter.
We have quite a few
So
charter
there
schools.
are not only charter schools, are there church schools? Do you have religious options?
We do have Lake Mead Christian Academy. We have a few other smaller ones.
Okay.
Yes.
So going back, education is one. With what type of concern? Because I know at this point, because of the fact of the signatures that were needed to go into breaking up the school district, that failed. So what do you see we're able to do to affect anything?
I think even though the signatures failed, if all of the cities come together and say the results that we're having right now are not acceptable, and they're not, if we all go up to the legislature as one voice saying something needs to be done to improve these outcomes, they're going to listen. We're representing the vast majority of the
now,
people who
you've
hire.
been through it. You have children that have been through it. You have grandchildren. And the fact at this point is, I'm big on what do you recommend? Just very briefly, because I want to find out your other thoughts. What would you recommend? We know it's broken. What do you recommend to fix?
I recommend breaking it up into smaller pieces, not necessarily by city. It could be, but it would have to be something that would be, you know, an equal-ish number of students per
And
school
how
district.
can the city, you would be in charge of it, how long would it take you to prepare to be one of those siphoned districts?
We have been doing a lot of work already.
Oh, you have?
So I believe that should we get to the point where the legislature says, yes, go, we're ready to go. We wouldn't be able to open it up, you know, the
Right.
next day, but we know what we need to do and the steps we would need to take to get to that point. But I believe
Wonderful.
it would take a couple of years. Barring that, right now it's very difficult for Henderson to get charter schools. And so they don't have overcrowding is not a criteria for allowing more charter schools.
Oh.
And so every one of our public schools is overcrowded by a long percentage. And so if we could get overcrowding as a criteria, that would help us be able to get more charter schools in Henderson, which would ease some of that crowding. So that's
Okay.
another thing that would be good.
Okay, so we got education.
Yes.
Now I'm getting down to the wire.
Sure.
Give me two more.
Medicaid reimbursement.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's something that is causing horrible things for my oldest son is a doctor. He's a surgeon, and so I hear firsthand from him the issues that they have, but also from our hospital administrators. We're losing much needed services because we cannot get our Medicaid reimbursement to even be on par with the rest of the country. And pretty soon we're going to be in dire straits with health care if we don't get those.
Now that is critical. I've been on that bandwagon for 11 years.
Well,
That's two.
I-
All
I
right,
will-
we're
I will
together.
join you on that
All
bandwagon.
right, go for three.
Okay, and three, homeless issues. People experiencing homelessness are becoming a bigger problem through the entire valley.
Well, you're just going to have to come back here because I can't believe it. I mean, each one of those issues we could discuss. We could go ahead and maybe open up to get some ideas from the public
agree.
more than that, because I know when I first took office, my very first meeting was in Cleveland at the Cleveland Clinic. And that was it. That's 12 years ago, and we knew Medicaid reimbursement rate was the killer.
Right.
And the insurance, but basically because Medicare is set for the country, every state's the same. Medicaid is set by each state, and we have much lower rate reimbursement here than our surrounding states, excluding California, which is another story. So I just hope you'll come back and we can
I would
do
love to.
this. Love to get all of our mayors together
Yes.
to talk about the air pollution, to talk about things that are common amongst us. I try to say that, and I'm not, this is water, trust me. So thank you at home for watching. Make sure you never miss an episode. Just scan your QR code on your screen to subscribe to our newsletter. We'll see you next time for another episode of Hello Mayor, and like our other mayors, but this one's super, super tough. Love her, and this is great. So come back.